Here we are at the Saginaw Art Museum on a lovely afternoon, speaking with a couple of ministers, right?
Aw.
Yes.
From Flint, co-founded Dedicated Believers Ministries.
Yes, ma'am.
And what, you might say, does that have to do with an art museum? Well, they are also avid collectors and have a touring collection called the Anthony and Davida Artis Collection of African American Fine Art. Long title.
Yes, ma'am. You said it exactly right.
So I am told we are only the second museum to house this show through February.
Yes, ma'am.
First one being the Flint Institute of Arts. And apparently you've been in schools and colleges, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Excellent.
how come ministers are art collectors? How did that all happen?
Oh, wow. Well, I started preaching in 1994 and worked at the Ruth Mott Foundation and got introduced to art there as a member of staff. And before being released, 4 years later, bought our first piece of art. And but I've always been bivocational, where I worked a full-time job and did ministry.
Okay.
And so it got to the place to where I wanted to do more of ministry and less of everything else. And so when we made the step full-time, when we started our church as pastors and co-founders, we started the church in 2014, and in 15? I think we started doing it full-time. I left my last corporate job August 27th, 2015. And so not knowing how we were making ends meet, we only had 2 months of income. On paper, we could make it to the end of October, and I'm praying, not knowing how we're gonna survive, but we're following our passion, following our heart, and then all of a sudden, we begin to revisit the idea of selling what art you have. And so we bought art and sold it on 2 occasions, and the third time we said, well, Lord, if there's a way to keep some art, that'd be nice, but we found the avenue is to share it with other people, and we haven't had to sell it all since.
So how many art pieces are in your collection currently?
We have just under 80, I think 79, 80 right now.
So where do they reside when they're not touring somewhere or in a school? At your house, or?
A lot of times we don't share that information just because.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. We live in Flint, and yeah.
And then how many pieces
So we
are
just
in the
having the storage.
exhibition here?
In this exhibition, and not trying to be rude and saying
No,
that.
I shouldn't have asked the question.
No, we have about 22 pieces, I think, that are shown here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is your, not necessarily here, in your collection, what's your oldest piece? How far back do you date?
Our oldest piece is, I believe, the Henry Ossawa Tanner piece that's dated around 1904.
Oh, wow.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, an etching.
And then up to currently, obviously.
Yep, currently 2020, we have a George Floyd piece that we just bought. I think in the last month, we bought about 9 artworks.
Okay.
Yep, during COVID. So.
And primarily prints, but you've got other things?
Well, we bought paintings.
Okay.
When we first started out, when they actually did that write-up, all we had were primarily prints, couple watercolors, drawings, but mainly prints predominantly.
Yeah.
Well, now we're getting to the place where we're starting to incorporate some oils.
And I think
which
that's
is
a
great.
lot of art collectors,
Yeah.
Then you say, wait, I want the real thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For the longest, we could only dream of either. We
Yeah.
couldn't afford the prints or anything. So now, we're blessed, to be able to.
And these
buy.
artists come from all over the United States,
Yep.
pretty much?
Some in other countries. We
okay.
participated in a auction in Paris, France. We didn't win anything, but they were selling some Tanner pieces. He expatriated and lived in France.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of times they wouldn't hang his art in museums here, or he didn't get a lot of recognition, so he went to France. They welcomed him with open arms, and he flourished. And once he began to flourish on the international scale, people in Pennsylvania said, oh yeah, he's one of ours.
I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's our oldest artist primarily.
How do you, well, first of all, that's an underserved market, African American fine
Yeah.
art. But how do you make, there must be tons out there. How do you choose and pick and choose and?
What to buy or
Yeah,
to be
what to
in our
buy?
collection?
For your collection.
Okay.
And let's stick with collection.
A lot of times I'll just, in my spare time to kind of relax, I would just goof around.
She's laughing.
Yeah, which is, like when you shut down the computer, because me relaxing might be flipping through 1,000
Exactly.
images. And so every now and then, because these usually take place at auctions
Correct.
around the country, sometimes I'll find an artist that we collect or a certain favorite artist, and I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know this piece is going up for sale. Let me just watch the auction. So
Okay.
I'll register for it, or we'll register for it, and then if it's in our range or if we have money available, I just, either ask for permission or sometimes do it without permission. And I'm like, Davida, you got to trust me on this one. And she said, I'm trusting you quite a lot. Why don't you pay these bills off? And so for now, our goal is to pay off our home and hopefully alleviate a lot of our debts. And then after that, we can kind of go full blast with the art. But we can buy it around the country at
Is it a
auction.
gut feeling that you pick an up-and-coming artist, or what's the criteria again?
For us, we want to be able to, we have real simple criteria. We have a hit list of different artists that we follow.
How did you get to your hit list?
Huh?
How did you get to your hit list?
I primarily saw the artists in Marianne Mott's collection, and certain ones spoke to me, certain artists by name. So Elizabeth Catlett, Romare Bearden, certain pieces I knew and liked. And so once we started eventually owning a piece or two, now we're just kind of, really putting together our dream team, so to speak. Davida now, certain artists that she likes, so she's like, okay, I like, like, who do you like? What's the artist that you like? Because Davida's the one that.
I don't know. I like Wimbert. I like Catlett. I don't have a favorite. I just kind of just like certain
Women
pieces.
of
I
G's
just
men.
don't like. I like the women of G's men. I like variety, I guess. So
Yeah,
for
with
me.
my art collection, it's a piece has to speak to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
get that?
Yeah,
And also
we get that.
to add to him when you asked how does he decide?
Yeah.
When he first started, started collecting books, like African American artists, or like the collection, like you mentioned earlier when we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that he would do was like, if these are important in their collection, then I want to emulate that collection.
We look
so
at the
it's like,
collections of
I see what they have, and you start seeing a certain pictures that continue to be in
Certain
everybody's book,
names.
certain names, and I think that's kind of how we started.
That's
When we
exactly-
started to collect things that other people collected.
How many
Yeah.
would you guess, and this is probably an impossible question, but how many collectible African-American fine artists there, how many artists are there?
Oh, I'd say hundreds. Hundreds.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a book called the history of African American artists from 1792
Oh, good.
or 1752 to present.
Oh, that's.
And at the
good.
time that book was written, I think it was written either in the late 90s or I don't know if it hit 2000. But one of my favorite artists, Romare Bearden, the guy who I showed the picture we bought for $27.95, he was one of the authors of the book. And what he tried to do was put together like a reference book to feature the first African American artists up until his day and time.
That's good. That
Yep.
at least gives you something
Ex-
to work with,
exactly.
because it's a huge
Yep.
field of
But
thought.
but how I go ahead.
And I've been sitting here half the day, there was a prominent development of Florida artists that during the Depression, I think, went around just painting all sorts of things in Florida. They were all
Okay.
African American.
Okay, see,
That
it's
does-
news to us.
Okay, I was gonna ask you if you had one of their collection, you did not, so I'll give you that. They're very.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I like
And there's
to.
an actual, if I can think of the title, there's an actual DVD about it.
Oh, wow,
Because I
wow.
really like some of those. How
Yeah.
big do you see your collection growing? And I guess you probably,
They have to ask Davida, 'cause it's always a ebb and flow.
wrong question. And I guess you do sell some pieces on occasion to get others.
Yes.
But where do you, I guess what I'm saying, where do you 40, I think you said, where do you see this going in another 20 years?
Oh gosh. Well, once our goal is to be really debt free,
Okay.
and so art is a means to get there.
Yep.
And so hopefully at the end of this
Once
year.
you get there, then what does that mean?
Well, unlimited. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not going to put a cap on it.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is sometimes when I'm not even thinking about art, I'm just goofing around in my spare time, unwinding, and all of a sudden I'll see that the Alma Thomas piece, this in there, it just came about because I was goofing around, happened to see it available for sale. It's so, we put together as much as we could afford to purchase it. and you know, and now it's like a real centerpiece.
Okay.
Yep. And so we're great. And so sometimes these opportunities kind of just
Correct.
fall on you. Now, the one thing we do collect, each and every artist that we purchase, except for the new artist from Chicago, we liked him and wanted to support him and encourage him, but they all have a market. And what I mean by having a market, you know, I don't have to guess at if it's worth anything. Like this picture, I don't know if there's any, you know, and I'm not knocking that artist, but the artists that we follow, I know because I follow the sales and the trends,
Right.
and like I might see a piece go from a few $1,000s to 10 or 20 or whatever, and I have a good feel because we look at certain auction houses sales. Years ago, there was a gallery called Swan Galleries out of New York. They were the first auction house to have a black art sale specifically.
Oh.
Yeah, where now you're starting to have more national auction houses. They're saying, hey, this stuff is skyrocketing. We need to kind of get in on it. And so all the artists that we buy and sell, you know, before we ever buy it, I already know where we can sell it.
And I understand you also get some eBay buys, right?
You know, we started out really doing some eBay stuff. We don't do nearly as much now. Yep. But we're grateful. You got to get in wherever you can.
You get right. So you see your collection obviously growing.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are seeing, hopefully, eventually to tour around the United States and beyond?
Right now, we're talking with a organization called International Arts and Artists, and they're saying that for year 2023, we're making plans. Once this closes here, we'll be taking steps to eventually have our first national exhibition opportunity.
Nice.
It's going to go to 4 to 6 venues around the country. So we're excited. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the dreaded question, like, what's your favorite child? What is your favorite in your collection, and what is your favorite?
Oh gosh, I love if I can give you 5.
No,
One. Okay, I would have to say our first piece. Henry Ossawa Tanner.
Okay.
You know, you never forget your first one, and so that one, to sell it because we needed the money, we sold it, and then many years later it came available. We were able to afford it. We bought it back, and so now you know, it just gives me hope and encouragement. So that one speaks to me. You know, Davida, I know she has at least a piece or artist, but I'm curious to know
yeah,
what
it can
hers.
be an artist too, but a piece mostly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right now, I think I'll just say the Wimbert piece is it's a leather piece, and it's called "The Boy That Couldn't Read." Am I saying?
Yeah, by Winfred
Winfred
Wimbert.
Wimbert.
The boy that couldn't.
The boy that couldn't
So
read.
it's a picture, or it's on leather of a boy holding a book, but he was illiterate, and so his story comes along with the picture. And I think for me, in choosing a favorite picture, is the story behind the picture.
That would be me too.
Yeah, and so for that's his story just brings me to tears. So I think at the moment, I'll say that. But if I go home, I'll probably look at something else.
Oh, I should have done that.
What artist or piece would you have?
Of
if
your
you don't mind?
collection?
No,
Oh,
just in general that you like.
Oh, boy, that's a trick question. There's a local artist, Larry Butcher, and he does, they're called shaped canvases, so they're on wood.
Okay.
And the piece is 6 feet high.
Wow.
And it flares out, so that would be, you know,
Wow.
it literally goes from the floor to the ceiling of my house.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, and you just wake up, you go, oh, that's nice. What
That's
I thought,
cool.
they did an earlier lecture here for people that weren't here to hear it. Many of these pieces have profound stories, okay? Not all art does. Sometimes people just paint for whatever.
That's true.
But so many of them are deeply connected to the African American experience.
Yeah.
Does it bother you that somehow people don't know those stories, or someday will you print them so they do, or you just let people see it on their own level?
Does it bother us? I would say it doesn't necessarily bother me because when we got into the art game per se, it was because Anthony saw something that was on his wall that he thought was like whatever. You know, he had a negative view of art, but once he went, did the research, got an understanding, got some, you know, some information, then all of a sudden it meant more to him.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that we try to do in our art collection is we try to present the story. So in our summer programs or when we're teaching, we will read a book, then we'll do a video, we'll show them the art piece. We'll bring it to class and let the kids really see the art, real art.
We give them little white gloves.
Yes, we give them white gloves. They
Yeah.
can't touch it, and then we'll explain. This is what this means. Look for the artist. So what's the name? What's the title?
Yeah. Oh,
that's
How many
wonderful.
pieces? So we try to engage them
Yeah.
with the artwork, and then we will allow them to do their own piece of art based on whether it's the style or their own rendition of what we just showed them. So what we may not have gotten, we try to introduce it to the kids, and maybe the
Yeah.
kids can then go
Yeah.
and take it to their parents. So at first, no, it's not offensive that they don't know the story behind it, because we try to give them the story, and we try to get them to understand all facets of the artwork.
Need to do that for adults too.
Yeah, we do it when we have the
Well,
adults,
like here,
we
yeah.
do it,
Some
but,
like children.
and it's funny because now that they have those aha moments that they would not have gotten otherwise.
Exactly, which I had this afternoon. Oh, my word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, during COVID, like we would do a summer program every year since 2017 at Mont Community College, free to the kids from kindergarten to 12th grade.
Okay.
And so the parents, they would, see it as a dumping ground. Hey, where can I put my kid? And I'll come
Yes.
back and you're going to feed them too? We would do it all. But the kids were excited, and I would tell the parents, get this book. And so anyway, during COVID, one of our funders, the James Welch Foundation, they said, Anthony, I really like the fact that you're trying to encourage the parents to be on the same page with
Oh,
the
good.
kids
Yes.
by reading the
Yes.
children's book.
Yes.
And then I told them, I said, on one hand, the parent is spending time with the child or grandparent, but they're both learning and they're able to
Exactly.
share the experience. And so they said, listen, they said, even though, you're not going to be able to do your typical program, if you will have the parents promise to read a book to their children or
Wonderful.
grandchild, they said, we'll fund it.
And then
So-
they'll probably come up with their own stories.
Exactly,
That they've never
and
shared
so that's
before.
what we
Yeah,
did. So we
yeah.
bought some books. We've given some away, and we just used it because they felt the intergenerational learning was powerful.
Very
And-
powerful.
Yep. And so we thought like, wow, I didn't know this art stuff until like as a 40-year-old man, and I felt embarrassed.
Yeah.
Once I started, I was like, oh wow, here I had all this rich history. Initially, I didn't care for it, and I felt that it was a us against them attitude. And but once I learned about the first piece, it really opened up a world to me, and I was so blown away because I was like, I never learned this in school.
I know. Isn't that the sad part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So anything else either one of you would like to say briefly before I wrap up? I mean, we could talk all day.
It really feels good. I think the one thing that I do love about art is it's almost like sports. It brings people to the table who otherwise never would have had the chance to get to know each other. And we're
That's a
honored
good
to have
point.
met you, Thor, the young lady, 18. I'm telling you, if you can grasp a hold of this, I wish I could go back in time, and I had to quit wishing I would have did it as a kid and just be grateful for the fact that it did impact my life, and I was open
And it
to
may
it
have
even as
not
an
been
adult.
there when you were a kid.
Yeah, you know what? In all honesty, a lot of them weren't even in museums. So yeah, wow.
We got a lot of ground to make up, so, yeah.
Yep, but hopefully it can bring people together. We want our art to do three things. We wanted to educate people, we wanted to encourage people, that's where the stories come in, and we wanted to engage people from all walks of life, and so we're
Correct.
honored
Yep.
that it allows us to do so.
How about you?
Final words.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I would just say, just in the opportunity, because I know not purposely he'll make it look like I'm the bad guy and all
No,
of
no,
this.
I'm not trying to.
And it's not that, I'm just more like focused on things. So I feel like for me in learning the art game, I've had to learn to just kind of relax and just allow things to happen per se, and not be as I used to be really upset. I'm like, no, we're not buying it. No, we're not doing this. No,
Yeah,
we're
it was-
going to pay this bill. And it became friction
Yeah, it
sometimes.
did.
And it got to the place where I just had to say, you know what, Lord, it's in your hands. So I'm just going to trust the God in
I
him.
said, Vita, take
and
off the
just-
cuffs, babe. Trust me. But go ahead.
You know, some days that works, and other days it just doesn't work.
Exactly. So I think as I've matured in the art game per se, I've had to learn to just trust his instincts, and
Yeah.
Bless
you know, I do see the benefits. Sometimes I'm still like, no, we're not doing that, you know.
But
But I do see the benefits, and I'm grateful
Yeah.
that he has this wealth of knowledge. And I will have to say that he has this wealth of knowledge, because when he's saying he's goofing off, he spends a whole lot of time goofing off, per se, to find the jewels and the nuggets. And I'm just grateful that God has blessed him and put him in our laps and
Yep.
allowed us to benefit from
Yep.
him.
Well, again, this is, oh, we got a kiss, we got a
No, it's just audio.
kiss. The show's here at the Art Museum through February. I understand you will be coming back periodically to do presentations like today.
Yeah.
So anybody who's interested, first come see the show, whoever's doing this.
Yes.
And then contact the Art Museum and find out when they're coming back. We have to limit the audiences, but you will really appreciate the show much more with listening to them talk too, all right?
It's been a delight.
So it's been a
Janet.
delight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Keep
you so much.
collecting.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.